Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cog Council. Apologies, it is a late show this evening, but how are we? Hopefully, all of you are having a fantastic Monday night wherever we are around the world. Welcome back. Of course, talking more on the breaking news earlier on that Trent Alexander-Arnold has decided to leave Liverpool, of course, obviously to join Real Madrid on a free transfer. We're going to be discussing that very briefly, of course, in tonight's episode. Not only are we going to talk about Trent, of course, we're going to talk about Angelo Stella, of course, being linked to a Liverpool move. We're also going to talk about Benjamin Sesko, and we're going to be talking not only very Bundesliga themed show, I should say, and of course, we are going to talk about Jeremy Frimpong a bit later on, of course, anyway. But again, let me know how all of you are. If anybody is watching, in the comments down below, of course, obviously adding more to the Trent Alexander-Arnold stuff. Of course, obviously a lot of journals has come out and of course had their reports on it. A lot of course ex-players as well and current players also having a say on it, obviously from Trent's post earlier on as well. A big bunch of the Liverpool team as well as also put their thoughts out there, of course. And I think on an overall consensus, I think obviously moving away from a bit obviously this morning for the breaking news side of things, I think obviously now reflecting on the news we knew was coming, let's be honest, everybody knew Trent Alexander-Arnold was going to Real Madrid. There's no hiding that really. I think everybody very much seen the news that was coming, and it was coming. But I think there was a lot of a hope and optimism where it did come to Trent that maybe things might have been different. Maybe we might have seen Trent change his mind in many ways in terms of, potentially, deciding elsewhere, because of, Virgil van Dijk signing his new contract, Mo Salah re-signing as well, and Liverpool going on to win the league title might have changed Trent's mind. But, if you read all the reports, going as far, from what David Ornstein to James Pearce to Lewis Steele to everyone, outside of Liverpool and, inside, it sounds like the whole situation was made up, pretty much years ago. Let's be honest. Really, I think everybody gets that general consensus of it as well. And I think it is one of disappointment. I think Jamie Carragher spoke about it, didn't he, tonight on Monday Night Football, and saying, as a local lad, as a Scouser, you would think, maybe Trent might have stayed at Liverpool forever in his career. Of course, him coming out with that statement of, he wants to, remove himself from his current situation, obviously, and find a new, a new challenge, a new fight, really. And I kind of, I think anyone else in any other type of scenario, and I think everybody else, if it was another player, I think you could kind of see it. But I think because it's Trent and it's because it's not only him leaving, it's the fact he's left on a free transfer as well, which I think that has probably upset people a lot more than anything else. I think you look at certain players, over the last couple of years. I think you look at Jack Grealish, I think is obviously the number one guy to look at in terms of, he re-signed that contract, didn't he, and ended up getting Villa £100 million for him. Now, would Trent get £100 million for Liverpool? You never know. I think I think if Trent was this season under contract for the next 3 years, I think Liverpool, could easily demand, 80, 90, at the push £100 million. But it is that fact that Liverpool are going to lose Trent on a free. It does depend, of course, whether or not Real Madrid come to the table early, of course, because of the Club World Cup, and obviously the transfer window opens on the 1st of June, technically. Of course, it is that mini transfer window towards the end of June. But again, even still, Liverpool pretty much lost Trent on a free. I think that has probably been the bigger disappointment, is the fact that we are going to lose Trent on a free transfer, and not only that as well. I think it was Lewis Steele's report suggesting, of course, Trent didn't like the comparison towards Michael Owen and Steve McManaman because his situation was different, because again, he's won everything at the football club, and the others didn't. They won trophies, in different ways, but they never won everything there was to win at the football club. And I kind of think that's kind of different, really. I don't know if anyone else would disagree with that. That I almost feel like that's the opposite of the problem, really, because you look at Steve McManaman, you look at Michael Owen, when they both joined Real Madrid, you could understand it on a different aspect of it because Liverpool wasn't competing. Liverpool wasn't fighting for league titles. Wasn't really fighting season in, season out for the biggest prizes. Let's be honest, Liverpool over the last 6-7 years have been fighting for league titles and fighting for Champions Leagues for the biggest period of time. And now Liverpool are on top, you now leave, and also it's the fact that, different, I think it might even be still the Lewis Steele one is, again, that Trent got, he got bamboozled by the Real Madrid's bid back in January, and I don't really believe that, and I kind of feel like that reporting, that's not Lewis Steele's fault or whoever did put out that report. That's not their fault. That's Trent's fault, in terms of that report coming out that, Trent was blindsided by, Madrid's actions in December, late December, early January. And you kind of go, are you though? Because again, for me, no team would bid or say that they, or pretty much verbally bid for Trent unless there is something there, unless they've had some inkling or some backing that, it maybe if you put this X amount of money will that deal can easily be done. And for me, it was quite obvious that Trent had tried to get something for Liverpool when it was too late, and realistically, Trent's known for 2 years, 2+ years that he's wanted to go to Real Madrid, that him and his brother and his team has decided to leave Liverpool. And it's been quite clear what the plan has been for some time. It's been clear that Real Madrid only wanted Trent Alexander-Arnold if he was a free transfer, because supposedly, the rumors are at the minute, of course, he's going to get it. He's going to be getting a healthy sign-on fee, but he's going to be getting £150,000 per week after taxes, which, if that is true, that I think is laughable. The fact that he's left Real Madrid for less as well just goes to show his true intentions, really. And look, I don't want anyone to, or I don't want anything now to kind of take away from the last game of the season. I don't want now the rest of the league to be like, Trent Alexander-Arnold's leaving Liverpool. No, I don't care in that sense. It's like, look, Liverpool have won their 20th league title. That's all I want to be caring about, and that's all that should be happening on the last day as well. No, goodbye Trent, or something like. No, you've decided to leave. No, we focus on celebrating the league title and celebrating it proper. As well. Anyway, but big up Zane as well, saying Michael Owen as an actual snake. He literally won a league title with Manchester United. Yes, he did as well. Yeah, Michael Owen wasn't a snake for leaving Liverpool to go to Real Madrid. He was a snake for what he did after leaving Real Madrid. Joined Newcastle and then joined Manchester United, which, I don't care what Michael Owen says. I think he had different opportunities to do it, but saw a way in of winning the trophies. Let's be honest. Really, anyway. But look, let me know your guys' thoughts on Trent if you're watching on the repeat, of course, because look, I'm sick and tired of talking about it. I'm sick and tired of talking about him, really, and the whole situation around Trent and just him going to Real Madrid. Because look, even though Trent's had an amazing time at Liverpool, an amazing, how many years it has been, but for me now, he's he's just another player now. He's not a Liverpool legend. He's not. It's thank you for everything you've done, but you're not a Liverpool legend. Now you're just another one of those players. In my opinion, anyway, I don't see him as a Liverpool legend. In my personal opinion, anyway, I don't see him as a Liverpool legend. But yeah, look, that might just be my opinion. Anyway, but big up Zane as well as I already said big up Zane. Conor Bradley deserves to start anyway, based on the pitch stuff as well. Yeah, absolutely. Against Arsenal, you start Conor Bradley, and that's the thing. Now you need to focus on Conor Bradley now going into next season, because these 3 games are pre-season games, really, against Arsenal, against Brighton and Palace. But that's the other thing now, is you focus on Conor Bradley, and his development, get him these 3 games to be in the first team experiment, where you can push Conor Bradley and where you can't push him, and go from there. I wouldn't start Trent at all. It's not like if we're chasing the title, we've already got the title. So I would do that personally anyway. But my thoughts are champions. Champione, ole ole. It says Ozan as well, big up Ozan. I don't want this Trent saga to distract from celebrating the Premier League. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Cannot overshadow the trophy lift and the parade. Yeah, exactly. It won't do. I don't think Liverpool support. I don't think the rest of Liverpool supporters will allow that, if I'm being perfectly honest. Anyway, but we will move on. I'm not going to talk about Trent that long. I'm not going to lie, because that's just an absolute waste anyway. But of course, we're going to talk about Benjamin Sesko. Now, of course, obviously Liverpool's list of strikers are supposedly very, very long. Of course, we've been linked with pretty much every top striker in Europe over the last 2-3 months, and of course now Benjamin Sesko's name is coming up quite a lot. I would say, in terms of reports. Obviously today, Alex Crook mentioned in terms of Victor Gyökeres, Benjamin Sesko, and Victor Osimhen are all contenders to lead the line at Anfield for next season. Of course, in his report earlier on today, but more on Benjamin Sesko side of things, of course, because you look at Victor Gyökeres, of course, been linked with Manchester United, been linked with Arsenal more recently, of course. But Benjamin Sesko, of course, that's the name that's going around at the minute. But in also saying his name, of course, it is reported that RB Leipzig would want 90 million euros package deal for Benjamin Sesko this summer, who has recently been linked to a move to Anfield, which, again, look, I don't know too much about Benjamin Sesko. I've only seen a fair bit of him, of course, apart from playing Football Manager, which, again, I think everybody, if you've played Football Manager, I think everybody, would have signed Sesko at some point, really. But again, obviously, he scored a really good goal, didn't he, against Bayern Munich a couple of days ago. But still, looking at his statistics now, 43 games played, 21 goals, 6 assists in the not just the Bundesliga, of course, it is the entire season that he's done that, of course. You're looking at it now, 31 games played in the Bundesliga alone, 13 goals, 5 assists, 4 goals in the Champions League as well, obviously through 8 games. Which, is that good enough for Liverpool? I'm not too sure. And of course, at 90 million euros, which would be around 80 something million pounds, I cannot see Liverpool going after Benjamin Sesko personally. But in also saying that, I definitely could see someone going for him. Whether or not that's Arsenal, whether or not that's Manchester United, of course. Or, he might even stay for another year of development in the Bundesliga. Really, I think the problem is Liverpool are in one of those positions where you look at it, we're gonna have to spend big on a striker. We are, either way. Like, for me personally, it's either Alexander Isak or it's Julian Alvarez. For me personally, I think they are the 2 top targets we should be going for this summer alone. Of course, the number 1 target is Alexander Isak. Of course, if Newcastle don't get Champions League football, Liverpool, I probably think would bid for him. But in also saying that, when you look at the other targets around, like I just mentioned, in terms of Victor Gyökeres, Benjamin Sesko as well. I've mentioned before Hugo Ekitike as well. Like, these types of names normally would cost to around somewhere between 40 to 60 million pounds. I feel like everyone, not necessarily probably Gyökeres, but certainly Sesko and Victor Osimhen as well, and Hugo Ekitike, they are being spoken about like £100 million players, and for me, they're nowhere near that. Ekitike again, quoted 100 million euros by Frankfurt. Like we said, Leipzig expecting a 90 million euro package for Sesko. I don't think Liverpool are going to do that because we already did that. We did it with Darwin Núñez. Did it work out? No, it clearly didn't work out. And of course, I think Liverpool would much prefer to sign the real deal. And I do believe that. I think Liverpool normally we don't. I think Liverpool tend not to go for the finished article piece. But I think this time round, I think it's different because we've had the experiment. We've had Darwin Núñez that was the experiment, and even now this time turning around. You look at, like I just said, Julian Alvarez, Alexander Isak. They are well established. Isak, is one course to finish third in the Golden Boot race. I think only behind, of course, Mo Salah and Erling Haaland. But again, you look at Julian Alvarez. I think Alvarez has got 20 plus goals this season for Atletico Madrid. So again, I think both would work perfectly for Liverpool. But again, it's all hope really, because again, why would Newcastle need to sell? Why would Atletico Madrid need to sell really, unless you are paying premium money, which again Liverpool could do. I think Liverpool could easily spend 130 on a striker this season, but how likely is it Liverpool are going to do that? That's the other thing, really. But again, we'll have to wait and see. To be fair, but hello, Luke. Hello, I'm Welsh. For God's sake, I think it will likely be. Do you mean Sesko adventure as well? Good seeing you as well. But I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts anyway. There's 8 people watching anyway, but who is the most likeliest to join this summer? In terms of striker position, I'd be very interested to know your guys' thoughts. To be fair, but look, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, but we are going to move on and talk about another Bundesliga player, which will annoy a certain Ricky if he is watching the show. Anyway, but we're going to talk about Angelo Stella. Of course, from Stuttgart. Now, it has been mentioned, I believe it is in Stuttgart's #1 paper, which again, I could be wrong. But of course, I have had to translate this from German to English. So I do apologize, and I will quickly get it for you guys right now. There we go. So it does go on to say, as you guys can see on screen right now, and I will quickly make it bigger for you guys. There we go. So Liverpool are seriously interested in Angelo Stella. It does go on to say that Liverpool FC clinched its 20th league title and is now showing strong interest in Stuttgart midfielder Angelo Stella for a transfer fee of 60 million euros. Could have Stuttgart thinking twice, as it is going to say, according to our team, Stuttgart midfielder Angelo Stella has become a major focus of Liverpool FC. The Anfield Reds have singled serious interest in signing the German international this summer. Dutch head coach Arne Slot team secured the 20th league English title in the club's history just 8 days ago. Liverpool are now thoroughly considering their squad structure for the coming season, in which Stella is expected to become a key, but yeah, get that word out, a key new element in central midfield. The 23-year-old who joined Stuttgart from Hoffenheim in the summer of 2023 only extended his contract with Stuttgart until 2028 in January. And of course, there's also say, but the offer from the Northern England is likely to be financially significant. The 60 million euro mark is the threshold beyond which, even though in charge of Stuttgart, including CEO Alexander Wheel, I think it is, and sporting director Fabian, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, I don't want to butcher it, likely to be pondering despite Stella's importance to Stuttgart. Now, to believe this report, do we believe it? I'm not so sure. Like, for me, I'd love Angelo Stella, and I've said this for a while. I think Stella, for me, Jesus Christ, Luke. I would say, personally, Stella, it would be a very good sign. Of course, he does have a release clause going into 2026 summer. though, which is around 30 odd million pounds, which again, are Liverpool going to maybe force that potentially? Who knows? But I would also think that, like, looking at Angelo Stella, he is very much like a McAllister side of things. Of course, he does play as a 6 for Stuttgart in a double pivot as of things right now. And of course, we've seen how good, of course, Ryan Gravenberch has been this season, obviously going back to the position that he was playing under in Ajax. And of course, when we talk about a player who, once again, maybe gone a bit under the radar. Of course, I think he's obviously now being put into the German national team. But again, you look at his statistics and it's decent. But of course, obviously, I think the bigger name for Liverpool potentially at the 6th position, or someone with a player like that, of course, is Adam Wharton. Again, is another name for me. I'd love either Stella or Adam Wharton as well. I think both would be very, very good for Liverpool, of course. But you're also considering one could be, at the north end of a big fee compared to Stella, who again. I think, and people hate when I say data, the data-wise could be very, very good for Liverpool, of course, anyway. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts on Angelo Stella as well, anyway. But Adventure says, I'm not sure we spend that much on one player. As well, I think that's when I was talking about Isaac. Can we get Agent McAllister to pull in Julian Alvarez? Well, we almost did last season, didn't we? That was almost a thing that happened, but yeah, it didn't work out in the end. Jesus Christ, Luke. No Looker as well. Hey, look, I don't care how he looks. He could be horrific, but look, as long as he is good for Liverpool, I don't care. Anyway, but imagine him doing the Fowler line. Jesus Christ, hero. I think we sell to buy, so we won't have the big summer in the way we hope. Of course, there will be an element to that. I think obviously Darwin Núñez is definitely one that's going to go out. Joel Konza, I think, is going to leave the club at the end of the season. I wouldn't be, I think Konza's, like I said, I think Konza's going to leave, whether that's a loan deal or whether or not that's, him leaving permanently. But I think he will leave if Ibu signs a new contract, really. But again, it depends on outgoings, or, outgoings do depend on incomings. But again, I think Liverpool will definitely see some incomings and outgoings anyway. But Stella's a no-brainer, as well as from Cliff. Ricky loves Stella. Yes, he does, to be fair. But was he Wataru Endo's replacement at Stuttgart? No, I believe he was at Stuttgart already. Actually, I'll have to double check that. But I believe he was at Stuttgart. So, because the rumors were last summer that when Liverpool failed to get Zubimendi, Stella was the guy that Liverpool also looked at and didn't decide to move for him as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But we're taking Endo. So we're taking Endo and his replacement potentially. Are there strikers we've not considered? Potentially, again, there's definitely probably some that we've not talked about. To be fair, I think we bring in similar level players to who goes out. Well, I think you look at left back, for example. I think left back, it could be Kirkes, could be Ain't Nouri. I think it will be one or the other. But I wouldn't be too surprised if Liverpool went for homegrown talent, really, because again, we're going to be, if we do lose Konza, that's a homegrown player gone. Trent's leaving, so that's already a homegrown player gone. So Liverpool might look at, like I talked about, Angelo Stella. Liverpool might go in for Adam Wharton. You never know, and we've not, Arne Slot's not really seen him in person yet, has he? Because when Liverpool played Palace, Adam Wharton was injured, so realistically, he's not seen him yet. Anyway, but I think Stella is an interesting one. I do. And I think, obviously, based on price, I think we could easily see. But also it could be another, like, I've only seen extended highlights. I've seen one game of his when PSG played Stuttgart in the Champions League. I thought he was decent in that game, but it could be like another. You guys remember like Sal Niguenes, was it, from Atletico Madrid? Everybody wanted him. Stayed at Atletico Madrid. The next season he moved to Chelsea on loan. Was awful for them. And everyone was like, "Oh, we never wanted him anyway." I was like, everybody was tweeting about him that they wanted him. It was ridiculous. Anyway, but look, it's quite funny. Anyway, but look, we are going to move on. Talk about the last story anyway of tonight's show, of course, and talk about Jeremy Frimpong. Now, of course, with Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving Liverpool, David Ornstein has come out, of course, I think it is on a Q&A session on The Athletic, saying this on Jeremy Frimpong, of course, speaking about Liverpool and right back signings, saying if they went with something different, something more multi-function, then the players potentially on the market, like Jeremy Frimpong, he has a 35 million euro release clause, something in the region of that. He would be keen on a move to Liverpool if they decide to go down that route, which, again, when we spoke about Trent replacements in the past, Frimpong's name has been mentioned. Whether or not Liverpool do go and activate that is another question, to be fair. But I do think it will be interesting. I think Liverpool will definitely sign a Trent replacement, whether that's in terms of a starter, because again, Frimpong would kind of be starting alongside Conor Bradley. But again, for me personally, I do see Liverpool sticking with Conor Bradley as the number one choice for next season and signing a backup, and I think it will be a well-established backup in terms of a player that can hold his own, really, and in terms of, again, there's no clear drop-off then between Conor Bradley and the next guy that's going to come in. Really, but again, whether though, of course, that's going to be Jeremy Frimpong is another story in itself anyway, but we'll just have to wait and see on the Liverpool side of things anyway. But look, I am going to leave it there for tonight, guys. A big thank you for everyone for tuning in to tonight's show. Apologies, it is an early show, an early show from the start, but of course, obviously, we were late tonight. Of course, normally we are live at 9, but again, I thought, why not go live at 10, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed tonight's show. Of course, anyway, big up to, of course, all the people in the Chelsea, Luke, Venture, Hero as well, Ozan as well. Thank you very much for the support on the channel. Hopefully we are trying to get more people in here as well, because obviously next season we're going to be going for 4K as well on YouTube, which hopefully throughout the summer, of course, obviously all the transfer news will be thick and fast, won't it? Because obviously as soon as the season ends, everyone's talking about transfers. Even towards the back end of the season, everyone's talking about transfers, which of course, everybody will see. Hopefully the fact that Liverpool actually do some business towards the end of the season anyway, and hopefully we'll sign somebody straight away on the 1st of the 1st of June anyway. But look, hopefully you guys have had a fantastic rest of your days. Anyway, if you are new around here, of course, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and yeah, I'll see you guys later on for another episode. I'll be back actually tomorrow for another episode anyway. But yeah, I've been Connor from the Cock Council. We'll see you guys later. Ta-ra.